and is set to testify later today to defend his right. Mr. Ben Shapiro is the editor-in-chief of DailyWire.com and host of The Ben Shapiro Show, and he joins us now. Hey, Ben, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
We just showed video. You were on that campus. That's California State. You were there, and what happened?
There was a near riot. They bust in people from outside. There were probably 300 to 400 students and protesters who decided to surround the auditorium where I was speaking. They blocked the doors. They were assaulting people who were trying to get in. The police had to sneak people in to see the speech 2 at a time. I had to be escorted off campus by motorcycle cops and an armed guard. It was pretty amazing. I mean, this is in the center of Los Angeles, and this is an institution to which I pay taxes. I'm a California resident, so this sort of thing has become, unfortunately, not super uncommon on campuses. As most campuses are still safe for speakers, but there are a few that are not.
And the reason you're in our D.C. bureau right now, you're going to testify in front of a congressional hearing. What do you plan to say?
Well, I mean, I think that both President Trump and congressional Republicans are interested in promulgating some sort of legislation at some point to link federal funding for universities to their willingness to actually enforce the law. We've seen on campuses that there have been assaults, there have been acts of violence, there's been property damage, and very often the universities use that as an excuse to prevent conservatives from speaking on campus. They don't actually do anything about the crime that's being committed on their own campuses. The philosophy of intersectionality that dominates the left leads to a sensitivity on the part of students that often results in violent activity against people with whom they disagree. And that really has to stop, or we're going to see a complete shutdown of free speech on campuses over time.
Is there a danger in that, in shielding people that have different views?
100%. I mean, there's a danger to conservatism, obviously. There's also a danger to the students. Jonathan Haight, who's a social psychologist over at New York University, he says that the microaggressions mentality, this idea that if I say something that, quote unquote, offends you, and then you act out against me, that this is something that we ought to promulgate. The problem with that, he says, is it actually creates a generation of people who are mentally weak, not just mentally weak, but mentally damaged. Because if you're in search of being offended in order to increase your virtue level, then you're going to lead a much more unhappy life. You're not going to be able to stand up to the pressures of the real world. So the people who are actually most damaged by this are a lot of the left-leaning students on campus who never hear an opposing point of view and who are never expected to deal with facts they may not like.
Do we need to explore the ideology of these protesters, find out why exactly they're doing it?
I think we do. I mean, I think we have to look at what exactly they're being told. What I've found is that very often it's professors and administrators who are telling students that if conservatives come into campus, they're not just conservatives, they're a member of the KKK, they're racists and sexists and bigots and homophobes, and that students' identity is being challenged, and therefore it is their obligation to protect the campuses from all of this. They have to create a safe space for each other. That ideology has to be looked at because it runs a little bit deeper than just we don't like conservatives and want to keep them off campus. It actually runs into the chief philosophy of the overall left at certain points.
All right, Ben Shapiro, you have a busy day today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Good luck.